Hey guys, FRS guy here, doing another video. Today we're finally going to install the valve body. Well, we're going to start it today. Hopefully we get it done. It's really probably an hour or two job. Like every time I do something on my vehicles, I pull it apart, analyze, try to fix and repair other things that are going on. So it could just be an in and out thing, or it could be I have to order parts, or I do other modifications like a trans cooler, things like that. Okay, so the issue, I tried to show it in one of my videos. We had enough mile an hour to run mid-12s, and we run an eighth mile at 91 miles an hour. That's plenty of mile an hour to run 12.5s, okay? I think that was on an E30 tune, and obviously we're going from there. We tuned it up to E50 now, or at least verified the tune. It's not tuned for maximum power at E50, but it does run pretty good. Runs pretty good, so the map is working, but then once we settle on what level we want to run at, then we'll do the final ignition and final fuel to optimize that settings. Probably E50 will probably be where we land, but we'll see. We'll keep upping the flex fuel and see what it likes the most. But the first to second shift, what happens is transmission is not building enough shift pressure to hold the clutch pack when it's shifting. So I'm getting a really slow, lazy shift, and it's not locking all the way going into seconds. So basically that means I couldn't do really any full passes. I couldn't do any timed runs. And then once we started getting up to E40 and E50, I don't even think it was holding solid in first gear, because now it's warming up. I'm getting my tire pressure and chassis things figured out to get better traction. And there's times where it's not spinning, but it doesn't seem like the tranny is locking 100%. So I didn't want to hurt the car, so basically I've been babying it. We had a C19 cruise last weekend, so couldn't pull the car apart, so we had to do that. It was a smaller cruise. We had like 30 plus, about 30 some cars, but then we met up with Cars for Coffee that had over 300 cars. So that's basically, it was the cruise before the cruise. So to fix that problem, then really there's no transmission tuning available right now. So I had to get a valve body. That's not cheap, but as these transmissions get old, your valve bodies, dirt and stuff gets in there, which slows down the shifting and does other things. Parts can wear out. So basically getting a new valve body is like almost like getting a new trans. Other than my clutch pack, the lower half of the transmission will be new then, because your valve body does half the work. So that part's going to be all new, and then hopefully that's enough pressure to hold through all the gears. And then basically the only good shift I was getting was going into fourth gear. It shifted quick. Third wasn't terrible, but not solid like it was when it was naturally aspirated, so obviously it's not enough force. So basically the last couple of weeks I've just been being easy on the car. Couldn't do timed runs. I don't want to hurt the transmission. So just basically driving like normal. Basically verifying my flex fuel map, which seems to be working pretty good. The timing and the fuel seem about accurate for the base map, and then the final map is when we set that. So basically, yeah, I'm going to start installing my valve body. Let's get into it. Hey guys, so we got it up on jack stands here, ready to go. I haven't lowered it. It's dirty. It's a daily driven car. Again, this is my summer daily. This isn't a special car. It just sits in the garage. This is what I drive in the summer. So the performance I get out of it's like what you can get out of a good daily car. Full interior, full everything. Again, we have the speed for a mid 12-second car. We weren't getting the ET because of that hanging and lagging shift. Basically the transmission I think is holding us back, so hopefully this fixes that. Here's my rebuilt valve body. Is it SSP, right? The guys in Minnesota are basically the only ones who make transmission parts of that. Well, I think there's someone else who does a valve body too. This is the one from Minnesota. They do valve bodies and torque converters. Right now, all this thing's spinning. We can't use more torque converters, so we gotta use the stock one, which is fine because it saves me money. And then, so this is your valve body. and basically your solenoids have to be cleaned. Even just an old transmission, dirt and gunk gets in here and you slow down and don't work that good, so you have to clean those out. This we're going to get into. When I pull my transmission apart, there may be a cheap way to at least boost your shifting, and that would be, Toyotas have this 3-way adjustment, and then this is on, if you have to flip this over, but this is the stiff setting, middle, and soft. And if I pull my transmission apart and it's in the middle setting, basically that means you can do a filter change, turn this just to boost up your pressure, and that might solve at least some of the problems with the automatic. Because when naturally aspirated it was fine, but then once you put more power to it, it just can't hold. These pressures are set up for naturally aspirated, not set up for 300 horsepower, so then they have to be adjusted to hold more power. And then basically, here's what you're going to need. If your transmission is over 50,000 miles, you should probably think about doing a filter change anyways. I'm at 60,000 with the Supercharger. We put 4,000 miles on her, 3,000 or 4,000 miles already this spring. So we already drove it a lot because it's been so nice. But you're gonna need a pan gasket. There's our part number for that. You're gonna need your filter, okay? Your oil, it's called an oil strainer. You need a gasket. You need this O-ring, goes on top of your strainer. That's your part number. This is your part. Oops, this lower one is your part number there. And then to replace the valve body, it has these O-ring gaskets. Okay, these guys here. I might have ordered the last two in the whole country. So, my parts department, they got me these two. I don't think the other one's coming. I don't know what happened to it, or they lost it. Something happened, but there was only 3 around. I do have them on order at another. I just ordered them online to see what would happen, and they got my order, acknowledged it, and that's the last I've heard. So those parts are they probably can't find them. So I may have ordered the last of these. So I think the service manual says these are one-time use because this transmission technically is unserviceable. They basically say take this transmission, throw it out. So be very careful with these. These are on top. They go right here. This is the top of it. So that's the top of your transmission. Be very careful with these guys, okay? Don't mess those up because you might not be able to get replacements, okay? If you think you're going to do your transmission, order these right away. Just order them and see if you can even get them. Hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully you don't need those and the other ones are still good. But I got 2 new ones, and hopefully I can figure out which one is for first gear, and I'll probably use a new one in the first and second gear for sure. And in my 4th gear, it probably doesn't, we're only 300 horsepower, so 4th gear should be fine. So basically, those are the parts you need. So you need a pan gasket, your strainer O-ring. Those go together. If you take your valve body off, you're going to need these 2 guys. If you're going to do this job in the car, what happens is there's actuators and stuff that are up in the transmission that are spring-loaded, and you have a check valve. So you have 4 actuators right here. They're going to be up in the transmission right here. And then your check valve is somewhere over here. There's a check valve that's up in the transmission. Those are all going to fall down as you pull this apart. So that's going to be the only tricky part about doing this in the transmission is not messing that stuff up, not mixing up these springs, not losing those. Okay? Because once I put them back together, they have this special assembly goo. This is designed so you can reinstall those parts. This is a special grease for your transmission that you can grease these parts up, put them in there so they stick in there so you can get the valve body on without them falling down. And this just dissolves in your transmission fluid and goes away. So this is like transmission safe assembly grease. I don't know what other greases because you don't want any clogging in your valve body, so you need a special grease to do that. That's what this is. And that's all I know about it. This is the first time I've really worked on a transmission. I think me and my buddies, we'd just send them off to get them rebuilt. But actually pulling the valve body off isn't too bad. You do have a lot of bolts on here. Okay, there's going to be all these little bolts all around the perimeter. And I guess there's like 2 or 3 different lengths. And that's the only thing you have to do is keep sorted out which bolts go where. But obviously you can figure that out once you get it apart and put it back together. So that's about it. The job is really, I mean, this right here is probably an hour job, I would think. Basically, you jack it up, drain the fluid, pull the pan off. It's probably going to take you longer to clean off the old gasket and clean up the surfaces than it will, because this probably just pops on and off. Not a big deal. But getting this valve body in and out, even this won't be that hard. There's videos where they do this in 10 minutes. So this isn't not a big deal. But in the car, the only thing with these actuators falling down, that could be tricky. So I don't know if I'm the only one here. Hopefully I can do it by myself. If not, I'm going to need someone to help me reinstall it. I think I have a couple tricks I've thought of to hold these parts in while I slide this into position. So I think I've got something figured out. And then the other thing you want to do, I don't have all the plastic off of here yet, but you have all of your solenoids here and all those wire connectors, okay? One thing you're going to want to, and see how this has got a little bracket on it? The one thing you're going to want to do is take pictures, if you ever replace your valve body, is take pictures of what you do have. This goes with any engine modifications that you do. The easiest way to make sure you're putting it back together the right way is everyone's got a cell phone. Take pictures of what you're doing. Take pictures before, during, and after. Like when I redid my fuel pump, I took pictures of all the wires. So if I can't remember, I have a picture I can refer to. Okay. Same thing here. When I pull the pan off, I'm going to take pictures of the wiring harness. I believe everything is directional. Like by the time you line the wire harness up, it can only go into one plug. But obviously, to be careful, you want to take pictures of it. Yeah, see, this is one of those longer bolts that goes here, and then this is the shortest one, and then these are the medium ones around here. So you can see how there's different length bolts that go in the valve body. Oops, you can see that. So there's different length bolts that go in the valve body. Short one, medium one, and long one right there. So that's it. Yeah, I've got a rebuilt valve body with hopefully the proper shifting and pressures. And then what happens is these clutch plates need to hold more power, they need to hold more force. So then this valve body also applies the more force to hold it all together. So hopefully this is just all I need. Plop this in there and hopefully we're fixed. I think that's it. I'm going to start draining the fluid. I got it up on jack stands, and then we'll clean underneath there before I pull it apart a little bit. It's dirty after winter. I didn't get a chance to clean the garage yet. And I think that's it for this part. Okay, and that's it for this part of the video.